Alright, so it's 2 in the morning, and here we are, deep in the depths of experimentation. But what we have here is some glassware, the solution at the end to this dome problem with the, or dome question with the Guinness Nitrosurge. You see in previous videos I was using this glass, Donington Brewery pint glass, the European pint standard. Now what we have here is a British pub standard Guinness glass. We have Guinness Draft Nitrosurge 558 millilitres straight out the fridge, same fridge as before. So I think it's a cold fridge, probably about 4 degrees or so. Okay, so no allowances made for temperature, same Nitrosurge device here. Same pouring method as you've seen before, with the same pourer. The light is on, and away we go. Now, the thing I said to you before, you need to let these cans settle in the fridge for 24 hours or so, because they are quite sensitive to that. You will get a bubbly head. What you'll see here now is that the head is almost bubble free, and that's just a few there. I'll close up now. So that's almost entirely to do with letting the can settle for 24 hours or so. But you remember that with this previous tulip glass, which is again the European standard, okay, noted, we were getting just short of the dome, weren't we? So here we go, we're getting the settle, and again the advice from Guinness with these Nitrosurge cans is to do a little bit of a shorter settle than with a pub standard. But we're nearly there, I think. Unfortunately, because I did have 8 cans to test with, I don't have a variety of temperatures to do this scientifically, because I drank the other 7. This is the 8th, but so you're gonna have to take my word for it. So there we go. There's the settle. Let's strike while the iron's hot and go for it. Now watch. Remembering that we were going short of the dome last time, weren't we? Now look at that. I even have to break off slightly early there. But that is what you want to see at the top of a pint of Guinness. Now the head is probably slightly shallower than you'd want, but it does persist, as you will see. So the thing I want to point out to you here, as I say, this is a current pub standard Guinness glass with the new UK standard. And I will do another video for you because I'm not finished with this yet, sadly. I wish I was, but I'm not. As I said, I had the Donington tulip glass there with the European pub standard. I've also bought a new Donington glass with the UK standard, because there is a question. Excuse me. There is a question over whether it's exactly the same pint, because you'd think it would be, wouldn't you? And yet, why is this producing a dome and the previous one wasn't? But look at that, isn't that beautiful? Let's talk a little bit about a pint of Guinness. People talk about stout and taste. And they say, oh, you know, there are the more flavoursome stouts than Guinness. But Guinness really isn't about the... Well, I'm not saying it's not about the taste. It is, but it's a subtle taste. It's about the texture and it's about the mixture of that head. Why Guinness so obsessive about this head and about how it should be poured and all this sort of thing. Look at that beauty. It's because the mixture of the foam and the stout needs to be right for it to taste right, and that needs to persist. Okay, it's at its best in the first mouthful. Here we go. And that's why there's nothing quite like that first mouthful of Guinness, that first gulp that you get from the top of a newly poured pint. That's pretty good. I haven't split the G, the whole thing, because on these new glasses, I think that's going down a bit far. Unless you're seriously thirsty. Top of the G is just fine, I think. And that'll still give you, my favourite gulp of a Guinness is the second gulp, because if it's been, I mean, the first gulp of Guinness is always good, but if it's been really well poured, that second gulp is really quite something. And that's when you know you've had a really good pint of it. This red thing in the background, it's really annoying. That's a video. I don't know what that is. There we are. Guinness Nitrosurge. So, by the way, I'm going to show you something. Look, still a little dribble left in there. So I even before where we were falling short with the full glass, there's like 3 mils left in there, whatever that was. Look at the head, by the way. The smoothness of the head is persisting. That's good stuff. So this second gulp of Guinness is what we really enjoy. Let's have one of these. And the point of that, with that head holding, is that you're still drinking the stout through the head. So the head is informing the flavour of the stout. You're getting that creamier, milder flavour, more balanced flavour, because you're still drinking through the head. This is true of all beer, right? This is why proper beer drinkers, Munich or Prague or somewhere where they drink beer properly, you're drinking any beer through a head. The head is part of the beer. A beer is a mixture of two phases of matter, of two elements, right? If you're just drinking straight beer without a head, you're drinking only one element of the two things, and you're drinking a very basic version of a very sophisticated drink. So we've got our head persisting here. This is why pub Guinness, in a good pub, tastes better than home Guinness, but this is why Nitrosurge really kind of raises the bar. This is now that it's pouring properly and getting that proper dough, this is now better than, I'd say, a lot of Guinness that I get around London. Can't quite remember what we worked out the price was, £2 a pint maybe. That's a third of the price. We're now over £6. Some places are £7 a pint in London. All right, there we go. So now you see there's the middle section of the Guinness. And this is the bit where you go, Because now keen observers will notice that you're not anymore drinking your Guinness through the head. By this point, even with a well-poured pint of Guinness, down to it's lower than halfway because of the tulip shape of the glass, you're now drinking straight from the black bit. Right, so there's a bit of foam and a bit of head left in there, but it's now getting a little bit less, a little bit more sort of edgier, more sort of coffee and that sort of burnt taste. And you're thinking, oh, actually, that's not as creamy as I remember it. Even with the best pint of Guinness, that's going to be the case. That head is going to. I'm not saying this is the best pint of Guinness in the world, but even with a really good one, you'd be tasting that. But that's the nature. That's the essential importance of the glass shape, because we'll get this section here, which is slightly less satisfactory than this bit. And then we'll get that bit at the bottom. So we take, this is the bit in the pub where you'd be talking to people, I suppose. Whatever people do in pubs, maybe they're going to blah blah blah, doing that stuff, and you wouldn't be that bothered about this bit, would you? So you fast forward through that bit. The head is still there, and it's still, it's obviously not disappeared. It's still there. It's still feeding into that general taste, but there's something less satisfying about it, isn't there? All right, so let's fast forward a little bit, because it's now 2:15 in the morning. I need to go to bed. So we'll fast forward. So you obviously wouldn't drink the middle bit of a pint of Guinness like that unless you're a maniac. But now you're left with this bit, okay? And this is the genius, the commercial genius of Guinness. This bit at the bottom. Because you think, you start off with this bit, which was great. It's always great. And then a well-poured pint of Guinness. I might demonstrate, this bit. Then a well-poured pint of Guinness has this bit, which is also great. Even better, really, because you're not expecting it to be so great. And then there's this bit of a pint of Guinness, which you're like, it's fine, but it wasn't one I remember from this bit. Remember this bit? Those are good days, So it's kind of like, any relationship, you kind of have the initial exciting phase, and then you kind of go like, what was that? But the genius of Guinness is because of the shape of the glass, if it's well poured, and if that head has persisted to the bottom, then what you now end up with is a very head-rich, relatively, bit at the bottom of the glass, which is kind of like a weekend away at a posh hotel that kind of reminds you of the magic of the initial part of the relationship. Because there's a lot of, there's a lot of head involved in the relationship now, again. Didn't mean to, Anyway, didn't have to degrade things in that manner, did we? But that's what I'm saying. Suddenly it gets very creamy again, and it reminds you of why you enjoyed that pint in the first place, and it encourages you to go and buy another. And if you're in a pub, that's what you'd do, and if I had any left in the fridge, that's what I'd do. But that was number 8 out of 8, and I'm afraid they've all gone. So, time for bed. Anyway, I hope that made some sense. I get back to the point that I was making. Pint glass. The pint glass needs to be the right pint glass. I'm not saying that the current Guinness UK pint glasses are less than a pint. And having acquired a pair of glasses, that one of which is the European standard and one of which is the UK standard, we can do a little bit of experimentation beyond that in a later video. But what I am saying is, using this standard tulip-shaped European pint glass, we didn't get a dome, and using this Guinness new, where's it gone? It's in white. That's why it's difficult to see. You can't see it through the phone, but it's this is a current UK pub standard pint glass by Guinness. You do get a dome. Doesn't matter about the temperature. Doesn't matter about the quality of the head. The quality of the head, the smoothness of the head does depend on how long you've let it settle, but the temperature is irrelevant. That was as cold as the other guys that didn't do it. The glass is very clean, by the way. That's as clean as it gets. I'm sorry, I should have checked that with you, but you didn't see that. And you see there was no bubbles and all that. But food for thought. Get yourself a decent shaped pint glass. Do your own experimentation. Let me know what you think in the comments. Thanks for watching, and cheers.